Yeah, good morning. Welcome to the another class of level 2 training. So before we start off, let me sign into training.rejola.com so that I can log my time and track my progress. So the high incident that I had is, of course, in our company we had a new team member who has joined, and low incident is there is a major restructuring of organization that is going on. So though it is a very good thing, but kind of a difficult and tough decisions to be taken, so that's happening. And learning, I started learning something called Measure What Matters. It's a book that is even praised by Google founders, so that's something that happened. And I have done really well in all these things, so I'll mark high in all these things, and let me save this. So let me start off with today's session. So we decided that we will be discussing on return and this double colon. So I will explain what that is. We've completed public static. Let me start off with that. So I will start off by covering what is return, and we are discussing this basically with respect to the object-oriented programming. Correct. So level 2 examples. So we had it's opening in some other thing. I don't know where it is going to open. So let me just try to open it. Yeah, it's opening as notepad only. Okay. So this is what we discussed in the previous class. We started off talking about object-oriented programming. We started off talking about objects and why it is important. It is important because when you're writing very large software, object-oriented programming basically helps you to keep the code very clean. It helps you to minimize the repetitions. You will not have to repeat any code. So a lot of benefits that we had discussed with respect to object-oriented programming, and we discussed about what is public static function. That is, if you do not have the static over here, you will have to initialize the class, that is, for example, this particular class, every single place that you want to use it. But if you mention static, you need not have to initialize it. You can directly call this function from anywhere in the software. So that's the advantage of having static. Now let us come to the next one, that is, let me come to the content, that is, let us find out what is return. Now return is not something very new. It is not something very new. It is basically what you have inside a function, what you use inside a function. If you want to return some, let's say, some variable, or you want to return some string or a text or something, you use something like this. You use, you just write return and do it. Even in object-oriented programming, that is still there. You still use this return and all that. Okay. So it is the same thing. So there's nothing. So if you're receiving some values here, let's say you're receiving some values like x, you're receiving it into the function. You can do some calculations here and return the answer here. So that is called a return. Okay. So having said that, next what we will study is we will understand what is this double colon. So you have a semicolon twice. Okay, double semicolon. What do you use that for? Now, as I said, when you have static here, you can actually refer to this function directly without having to initialize. So let us say I'm not initializing this. I'm just going to comment this. Of course, this is not at all a PHP programming page, but still I'm just putting a comment there. Okay, so let us say I want to directly refer to this particular function here. How do I do it? I will have to just say class name, okay, that is this particular class name, and I will have to put a double colon and then refer to this function here like this. I'll just copy this and I'll paste it here. That's it. I need not have to initialize it and then call that particular function. So let's say I'm saying I am calling it as xyz is equal to. I can directly initialize the function using this particular double single colons like this, and I can call the function directly like this. Okay, so that is the use of having this particular thing and also having static. So that is how you use the function. As I said, we are only covering a little bit of theory right now. We are not getting into practicals. So please hold on. As I said, when we do the practicals on the right side, all this that I am saying, I will try to explain with a practical coding on NetBeans. I will do the coding on NetBeans with different files, class and everything, and I will explain them. Okay. Yeah. So now coming to the next one, that is sessions. What are sessions? Now sessions are basically if you want to have some value that will remain in the software as you are using it. For example, session. Okay, if you want a particular value to remain in the software as long as you are using it, you can store it in session variables. Okay, now when I say that, I have to give you an example. For example, when I am logging into training.rejola.com/software, you will notice that once I log in, and no matter where I click, I am still logged in. Now, how I achieve that is by using session variables. I am using session variables to remain logged in the software. So, how do you write session variables? You say, for example, this is how you write a normal variable. Okay, this is how you write a normal variable, and this variable will be available on the same page. And you may be able to use, if you are defining it outside a particular function, you can use it inside a function on the same page. Okay, so variables have a scope, that is, it can be referred only from a particular portion of the software. You cannot define a variable in one place and then use that variable or refer to the value of the variable in every other pages of the software. It doesn't work like that. Whereas with sessions, you can do that. So for example, here, this is how you define a session variable. So let's say I'm calling it as name. Okay, so I'm just saying it as name. So this is how I would define a session variable. Instead of just putting a dollar sign, I would put $_ in caps. I would write session, and then almost like an array, I will define the name of the session variable. And this is how I can refer this with a simple syntax and a simple procedure that you need to follow. I can refer this session variable in any part of the code. So for example, here, if I leave this page and if I click on home, for example, after I end the session, and if I click on home and go back to the home, I am actually changing the page. For example, here you will see that the page name is workbench.php. But when I click on home, you will see that it is actually going to welcome.php. It's a different page altogether. But the software still remains logged in, and that is achieved through a session variable. Okay, so that is how session variable is used. That is why session variable is used. And what are cookies? Cookies and sessions, the purpose is similar. That is, if you want to remember something for a longer duration, or if you want to remember something on different pages, you use sessions or cookies. But cookies gives you a different behavior. Sessions are remembered, or they survive, or they are stored in the server. So if you remember, let me open the server and client presentation that we had made already. Okay, let me open this. I think I'll close. Let me see what is the Yeah, I think we are almost coming to an end with cookies, so I think we'll be able to start programming today itself. Yeah, so this is the drawing that we had done some time back. So here if you see, we had created a server from where the client receives all its information, and all the HTML and everything comes onto the client. And we saw that PHP, MySQL or MariaDB, it runs on the server, and the HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, jQuery and all that runs on the client. Now coming to the session. The session variables are maintained on the server. So when I define session name, it actually maintains on the server. The client does not know what session variables are there. In fact, since it's a PHP related variable, obviously it remains only on the server. However, this concept called cookies is the usage is similar. That is, if you want to remember for a longer duration or on multiple pages, you use cookies or sessions. But cookies, instead of being there on the server side, cookies are something that are on the client side. In fact, cookies are specific to browser. So if you are, for example, using Microsoft Edge, it will remain on Microsoft Edge. If you are using Google Chrome, it will remain on Google Chrome. If you are using Firefox, it will remain on Firefox. That what you store on the client side, especially on the client browser, so that you can retrieve it anytime, even after you shut down your computer and open it again, these cookies or these variables, these values will remain over there. Okay. So that is called cookies, which are saved on the client browser. So that is why what happens is, let us say you have some 2-3 browsers on your computer and you are accessing something like Facebook, and you have saved the password, your own password on Facebook, let us say on Chrome. Okay, what happens is Facebook creates a cookie on, or a variable on Chrome, and it saves it there. Okay, and when you open let's say Mozilla Firefox, another browser, you will see that it doesn't remember your password, and then it will ask you to log in once again. The reason is because the cookie that was saved on Chrome is not available on Firefox. So you will have to once again go through the login and login password, user ID password, and then when you are saving it again, Firefox also saves a cookie which has your login details. It may not store your user ID and password, but they have their own way of storing some information, so that next time when you log in, it will automatically take you into the your account instead of asking you for a user ID and password. So that is what is cookies. Cookies are stored on the client side. Okay, sessions are stored on the server. Now each one of them have their own requirements. So how you use them will depend on how much of programming you have done, how well versed you are with these things, and then your own way of thinking. Now there is no right or wrong way of programming. As I keep saying again and again, it will depend completely on whether the solution is achieved. Okay, and the software is also very efficient, that it runs very fast. So having said all this, I think now what we can do is we can start focusing on the homework part. That is, create a page with form to accept name, age, gender as a radio, language is known, city, and display on another page by dividing age by 3 in an object, and all other details as it is. Okay, so this is what we will do today. So my first thing is I have to create a page. Okay, so let's come here. So this is the starting page, the index.php page that we have been doing, and we have been learning for loop there. So let me open that. So before opening, I need to start the Apache server. So once that Apache server is on, let me close this so that I will get some space. Let me close this also. Okay, so Apache server is on. So with the Apache server on, now I am going to create a page with form. So that is what I am going to do. Here, since Apache server is on, if I go to localhost Okay, if I just type localhost, we know that the page is going to load, and since we have put something like this, this page is going to have this from 50 to 1, because that's what we had put over here. So what I'll do is I will comment this, okay, because we don't need that right now. Okay, so I have commented this, and another thing that I will do is I will create another page, okay, where I will create the form. Okay, so for that what I will do is I will create an icon here. So for example, here you can see home. So there is, let me refresh the page, so that thing is gone. So home is there. So I'll create a a menu here, which will take me to the form where I can create that particular page with the form and collecting all the values which is there in the course content, that is over here, this particular page. So what I'll do is I'll create this particular link and I'll call it as form, FORM, just that. Okay, so let me, I think I had already created one which said first class. So when I click here, is it take me to that? No. Okay, so let me come back to this, and what I'll do is I'll remove the link. Okay, so I've removed the link and I'll call it as I said, I will just call it as FORM. Okay, and the link, what I'll do is I will call it as form.php. I will call it as form.php. That is the name of the file that I want to refer to. You can see that I'm not putting any other folder structure before form. That is because form I am going to create in the same folder where the index.php is there. Since I'm going to create it in the same folder, I can write it directly. So when we click on the link, it will open a file called form.php, which it expects to find in the same folder. That's why I've just kept it as form.php. Now if I come here and if I refresh this, and you will see that it is changed to form. If I click on this, it is supposed to take me to form.php, and you will see that it will not work because I have not created form.php till now. But anyway, let me click on it and you will say that object is not found. So usually how I create a new page is I come to this page and I just say file, save as. Okay, the same file that we are using, I say file, save as, and in the same folder. So you can see wherever the index.php is there inside htdocs, in the same folder I will just rename the file as form.php. Okay, so the same file I just saved it as, and I have saved it as form.php. So now if I come here and refresh, you will see that that particular page is loaded again because I've just copied that and put it into form.php. I've just saved as. So index.php has that particular set of code, and the same thing has come into form.php, and I just modify this entire page. Okay, so I come back here and form.php, I just remove what is not required for me. I'll just remove all this. Okay, I've just removed because I don't need all that. And what I'll do is I'll leave the menu as it is on the top. I will not touch the menu part till here. And here the heading, what I'll do is I'll just say form page. I just write it as form page. Okay, and I will remove everything else from the below that till all the table, and there's the model here. Everything I'll just remove it. I don't need any of it. I'm just keeping the menu line on the top and then just writing one particular heading called form page. And when I save it now, okay, and if I refresh this page, you will see that it only says form page and there's nothing else on the page, correct? So if let's say I do one more thing, this free training, I think what I'll do is I'll just change that free training as index.php. Okay, so now this free training, I'm keeping it as index.php so that when I refresh this and I click on free training, it takes me back to the home page, and when I click on form, it comes to the form page. So now I have the form here, and now let me create the form, and let me start to create the form. I have a little more time left. So what I'll have to do is I will have to create the same structure that we discussed earlier. That is, I have to put a div which takes a class of container. We know that we need a class of container. Now you can see that container, it is automatically suggesting that particular name. It is bringing in container, and it is bringing in from Bootstrap. It is bringing in from this particular place. It's bringing in from here. Okay, so container, so you need a container, and you also need a row. Correct, we had discussed that in Bootstrap we require a row, and we also need a smaller portion. See, for example, if we do not define this particular div here, the div with us will go till the end over here. Okay, so I don't want it to go till the end. So what I'll do is I'll put a call sm, and I'm not sure if whether I can do this or not. So I'm just putting a 4 here. Okay, and there's another class that is available in Bootstrap which is called thumbnail. Okay, I think they changed it to thumb probably. That's why it is just giving thumb. Earlier it used to be called thumbnail. So let's see if it still works. So if I just refresh this, okay, so nothing is happening there. So if I refresh it as thumbnail, I do like that and then refresh it. Okay, I don't see anything happening. Let's say hello. Yeah, hello has come, but I'm not sure if let me do this once more just to hello. Yeah, so that 4 is working, but the thumbnail is not working. Thumbnail actually creates a kind of a beautiful border. So I don't know, maybe Bootstrap has changed it. So I'm trying to create a form, and maybe Bootstrap has changed the thumbnail. So let's see what it is. Bootstrap thumbnail. I'm not sure if they've changed it. Let's see. Bootstrap thumbnail. Okay, it does have thumbnail, but it's not working. I'm not sure for what reason it's not working. Thumbnail. Maybe the latest one does not have it. So let's see whether I can search in some other way. Bootstrap thumbnail not working. Let me see why it's not working. Class not recognized. Bootstrap 4 images not working. Let me go for this one. Not allowed to load resources. Okay, anyway, I think we'll have to take a longer time understanding that. So